what had happened is that violence itself has changed in the 21st century. I mean, in the last centuries, we have never heard of a terrorism where a collective group or a collective part of society takes violence as a means to achieve. It's no more an individual or a small group. It has assumed a global dimension. So there has been a change in the violence concept also, that the terrorism or various other forms of non-violent actions, the violent actions are also being taken at a national level. Certain governments initiate certain actions without justifications. Also amounts to a adherence to violence. So the violence has taken a new shape in the present times. And it's not an individual violence or it's a different kind of violence that we understand, but has been a total change in the concept of the violence. Well, as I said that the Millennium Goals are to reduce from 1.25, but if you see 2001, we are in 2007, almost at the half level, at the Millennium Goals. But what has happened is that there are certain countries where the poverty reduction program has succeeded. For example, at the beginning of the Millennium Goals, China had a out of a population of 1.5 billion, when China launched their economic program, the number of people below poverty line is what I said, below $1 or below $2, were about 600 million. That figure has come to 200 million now, China. So the poverty reduction is also directly linked to the economic development of the country. Well, in India also, there has been a poverty reduction, but not of the scale which China has got. I mean, if you go by percentage-wise, the other day, when I came yesterday, I was reading in the yesterday's paper, or day before yesterday's paper, that India is not signing. The number of people have gone down. Total number of people in India, according to Planning Commission, by year 2006, have come down to 323 million. But the distribution is not all over state. There are certain states like UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, Odisha and Uttarakhand, where in absolute terms more people are poor. In statistical terms, percentage has come down. But in absolute terms, more people are poor, etc. Now the poverty and violence has also something to do with globalization. Because there is a link between globalization and poverty reduction, there is a link between globalization and the violent actions. So the globalization has opened the entire society. Today, wherever we are sitting, we have an impact. What happens in other countries, means of transport, means of communication, if you think that there is a fire in San Diego, within fraction of second, you will know there is a fire. If there is an erosion, somebody has put the fire, you would know that's a violence. That's also a violence. So the means of the globalization has given an impetus to a new type of violence. So when we are doing thinking in terms of non-violence development, we have to see how can we reduce these types of new developments which have come in the field of violence. So poverty reduction is one, but the globalization has also helped in reduction of poverty levels. Globalization has also helped in reduction, but the new forms of poverty, the other day, those of you who were reading paper yesterday, you will find a well-to-do person who has got nice income. He stabbed a jeweler in Delhi. I don't know if you read in the paper, it was in yesterday's paper in Delhi. Now, economic reason was not there because he was an IT expert, etc. So he had a lot of resources to do. But his demands had so much increased that they were not satisfied with the level of income which he was having. And he thought, by killing this dweller, who is taking 100,000 rupees with him or two, I will hand extra. Now, this new type of violence is emerging because of globalization. New demands. He must have a mobile phone, he must have a PC, he must have a car, he must have a this car. I mean, in economic terms, this is a good development. But when we measure in terms of violence, this is a new type. I mean, if I am hungry, I do not have money, then if I snatch something, there is a reason behind it. But here, a man who is earning as much as 50,000 rupees a month, and still he commits a violence. So here a new dimension has come. It is not only the poverty which leads people to the violence, but it is the level of consumption demands that is generating a new type of violence. The other point that I want to make is that while linking violence, poverty and globalization, the action is needed at various levels. It is not sufficient that if we have to launch a movement of non-violence, that we satisfy ourselves. I mean, there has been a good development. In fact, as you know, there has been a conference in the year 2003 where there was a decision taken in the 1998. For the first time, the UN proclaimed that the 21st century will be international decade for promotion of culture of peace and non-violence for the children of the world. Now, it was limited to the children of the world. That is a declaration made in 1998 by UN. But I think our efforts should be directed that not only for children at the international level, but the concept should expand to cover all people who are subject to violence. The 189 countries have accepted this declaration. You know, UN has got presently 192 members. Out of 189 countries have endorsed this one. So there is going to be concerted move to launch a further refinement of the declaration of 1998. But the successful eradication of poverty will be harbinger of a happy and healthy society where non-violence will become the hallmark of human behavior. After all, it's the human behavior which causes violence. In these efforts, I'm sorry, you have given me 10 minutes, I have exceeded, but normally the head of the governments in the General Assembly are given 5 minutes only. So I will now conclude that the conference can make a fairly substantial contribution to this movement of non-violence which I had talked, the 1998 declaration of the United Nations for the culture of peace and non-violence for the children. And I would suggest this conference says that this particular declaration must be expanded to cover not only the children but all sectors of society at all levels, etc. Thank you very much.